writer Chris Broussard joins the show. Welcome.
Welcome back.
Thank
you. It's always good to be with you guys.
Good to have you here. All right, we will get to Joel Embiid in just a second, but first, a little March Madness. Zion, watch this, the amazing block. Had to actually duck his head so he didn't hit the head on the backboard.
Duke lost, but it wasn't on Zion. Gave you 24, 14, 3 and 3 as far as blocks and steals. Filling up the box score this entire tournament. Just wasn't enough from the other guys.
Zion, when you bump into Nick Wright, he gave you a B.
Well,
he gave you a B.
There's context for it.
I'm just saying, you're going to see him. He's going to be like, oh, man, I've been cheering for you the whole time.
I have. I can still give him a fair grade. What's happening here, Jenna?
All right, Clippers, Grizzlies, Ivica Zubac getting up to slam home the alley-oop.
Yeah, that's a guy who's playing for the wrong LA team. It's unbelievable. Did you read the story that said the Clippers didn't even call and ask about him? Magic just called and they were like, yes, we'll take him?
Yes.
Hawks, Bucks, and Trae Young, man, makes him the miraculous buzzer beater to top the Bucks in overtime. How good has he been?
Chris Broussard has votes on these things.
Rookie of the year. Right now, I'm leaning Luka, but I'm going to do my intense study before I put in my official.
I hope your colleagues and everything are waiting until the end to vote.
Smart.
Because the last 30 days, Trey's made a big push.
Oh, my God. I love it. I loved him coming out.
I think you like him because you think light-skinned people make a
He's helping. He helped me. We're coming back, Chris. We rapping.
Play time.
All right.
We rapping, too.
That just
On to the Sixers.
I wasn't claiming him.
We have to move on now. We have to. Sixers trying to become the first non-LeBron champ. Only CeCe could say that. The first non-LeBron champs in the East this decade, and Jimmy Butler thinks they can do it. He told The Athletic, we can do something special. We talk about it every single day. We got to be the ones to go out there and do it. And the crazy thing is, I know that we're capable of doing it. All right, Broussard, what is the ceiling for the Sixers team?
The ceiling is the NBA Finals. I don't think they could beat Golden State or whoever. I'm assuming it's Golden State out of the West. But they could get to the finals. Now, that said, I think they're the third best team in the East. I like Toronto and Milwaukee better. But it wouldn't surprise me if Philadelphia got one of them in a series and beat them. The one thing, and I've said this on here before, the one team that I think Philadelphia does not need to see or want to see is Boston. And they've won, I think, 17 of the last 20 against Boston. Now, Boston's a mess. They lost 5 or 7.
Sixers the only team Boston does actually want to see.
Right. But so I don't expect that to happen right now. Philly's the 3rd seed, Boston's 4th.
The bracket's falling perfect for Philly.
Right.
It would have to be the Eastern Conference Finals to play them.
But here's the thing. If they meet in the conference finals, that means Boston's beat Milwaukee in the second round, and they're playing well. So if they're playing well, feeling good about themselves, the chemistry is there, I think they beat Philly. If they don't have to meet Boston, I think they got a good shot.
Well, I'm going to take a step further than you. You said their ceiling is the NBA Finals. Similar logic to what you had with Boston. If Boston gets to the Eastern Conference Finals, it will mean they have figured it out, they're playing well. If Philly gets to the NBA Finals, meaning they have beaten Toronto in the second round, and then either Milwaukee or Boston in the third round, it will mean that what we saw rear its ugly head in the playoffs last year, them playing 4-on-5 offensively, that they have found a way to solve it, that they are either coaching around it or they have changed their rotation late in games as such to where it's not an issue. It will mean Joel Embiid is playing the way we have seen him play for stretches this year, where he has been for weeks at a time the most dominant player in the league. If they get to the NBA Finals, their ceiling is to win the championship.
You think they could beat Golden State?
Yes. I don't think they, this is, as you would say, I'm not saying I would pick them. I'm not saying they would be my pick, but would I be shocked if we have a Golden State Philly NBA Finals, if it goes something like, okay, we're going to play, you're not going to guard Ben Simmons, we're not going to guard Draymond Green, you have no one to check Joel Embiid, we have length to put on Steph and Clay. Like, there is a situation where I could see, oh yeah, Philly can be a tough matchup for Golden State. Neither team is deep. Neither team likes to go to their bench. They like to play their starters as much as possible. So what's their ceiling? The ceiling for the Sixers is to win the championship this year.
Would you say that about, quickly before you, Chris, would you say that about any team that wins the East?
No, I'd say that about Philly, and I'd say it about Milwaukee. I don't think Toronto can beat him in a series.
Even though his name is on the marquee, the voice that you just heard is not the reflection of the opinions of this show. All right, so for me, I believe because Philly is not a very good road team, to me the ceiling for them is the Eastern Conference Final. And I think that if you look at Philly's roster, outside of their starting lineup, they got a lot of question marks. And if I were to go to the finals, who is J.J. Redick going to guard? Like, how are they going to hide him on the court for Philadelphia?
I think they'd have him guard Draymond.
Then you can post him up.
But now
that's the worst. That's the worst matchup for him.
And I hear you on Draymond, but he shot like 40% from three in the last month
2 weeks.
So.
Oh, last month. Okay.
Roughly, yeah. So he's been hitting. I'm not saying he's a good shooter, but he has shot better from there. And I think you can put Cousins on Embiid. Not that he's going to shut him down, but at least you have a big body to put on.
See, and I think that's the way to get Philly in the bonus immediately. I think DeMarcus Cousins get frustrated, start racking up fouls, and then Philly goes to the bonus, and they are an outstanding free throw shooting team. That's the other benefit Embiid gives them that you've pointed out a bunch, see, is not just him getting to the line, second most of any player in the league, but him racking up fouls on the opposition.
If he's getting that whistle. We have not seen Joel Embiid and the NBA whistle in the playoffs. Are they going to give him the Shaq? Are they going to give him those legendary where they are not going to allow you to just beat them up the way they do NBA centers? And I like the fact you're saying Boogie Cousins because Philly doesn't do as much pick and roll as they do as much dribble handoff. Boogie Cousins have a problem with the pick and roll, doesn't have as much problems with Philadelphia the way they run their offense. But I think, and I think that where this team just getting together, they've changed twice this year in Philadelphia. Them getting to the Eastern Conference Final, I think that's a great mark for them. Try to get their roster re-signed for next year and then make a push for a championship.
Chris, we had Antoine Walker on the show last week, and he said he thinks this starting five in Philadelphia is the best, if not the second best starting five in the league, and definitely could compete with anyone. Where would you?
On paper, it's a great starting five. I mean, everybody loves Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Jimmy Butler, J.J. Redick. I mean, it's a nice starting five. Tobias Harris on paper, but there's some issues there. I mean, we obviously Ben Simmons with the shot. That's all he should work on this summer. But what that does is, if you notice, a lot of times, especially late in games, he's playing on the post because they can't have him outside because nobody guards him. What does that do? That forces Embiid out to shoot threes.
And listen, and that was their issue last year in the playoffs against Boston, is you either had Simmons on the post, and if you didn't, then his guy was just sagging off him 6 feet and clogging up the lane.
And again, it pushes Embiid out because you can't have two guys in the post.
And it's why they absolutely could get bounced in the second round. But if we mention the NBA Finals, I just want to put something on its head. You mentioned who's J.J. Redick going to guard. My question is this: who's Steph going to guard? Because if they may play the finals and Steph, okay, we're going to have Steph guard JJ. Steph is going to be spending so much energy running off screens, just trailing, because they're going to run JJ Redick off a half dozen screens of possession.
I'll take my chances.
Okay, because that's the only.
The one thing that Golden State does is they're not as susceptible to the type of offense that they run that way because they switch to 1 through the 5. They switch better than any team. That's one of the reasons why they're so good defensively. So Steph presents more problems. Clay presents more problems than J.J. Redick running off a screen. How many points J.J. going to score? Well, even if he gets hot.
Just real quick on that, I agree with you. They're going to switch. The reason Philly, because of the trades of Tobias Harris and Jimmy Butler, to me is so interesting against Golden State is if Steph gets switched on anyone other than J.J. Redick, then they will clear out to that side of the court, get that guy the ball. Because Steph cannot guard off the dribble anyone else on Philly's roster. Ben Simmons too big, Embiid obviously, and Tobias Harris or Jimmy Butler. So he's going to have to try to stay with J.J. Redick. It's just a problem, I think, for Golden State that if we were to see those NBA Finals, they would have to address.
All right, Chris, we'll see you a little bit later on in the show. Coming up, could Duke's loss change how coaches build their teams moving forward? That's next on First Things First.